When you're rebuilding these engines, to decide if you need to replace the rings, the first place to start is checking the ring gap, which is the end gap there. If you look at the rings, this one has an arrow here and KDN5 on it. This one has K top. When you see anything written on a ring, it means that's the top side of this particular ring. So when this ring says top, that doesn't mean it's the top ring. It means it's the top side of this particular ring, which I think is possibly the second ring. You can see this ring has a bevel on the inside edge, and I think that makes it the top ring. Often the rings are different thicknesses too, so it's obvious when you try and put them on the piston because you can't get a top ring. Well, usually the second ring would be thicker than the top ring if they are different. To check ring gap, I need to put the ring in the cylinder, and then I'm just going to push it down with this. This is just a machined piece of plastic. And so that should have the ring nice and central and about 26 millimeters down the bore and nice and square. So the spec for these rings, for most of these rings, is 0.2 to 0.4 millimeters with a maximum of 0.8. So if it's when they're new, they should be between 0.2 and 0.4. And if it's more than 0.8, you should replace them. And usually if they're more than a mil, the thing will be using some oil. So we'll try 0.23, it's easy. Try 0.4, no. What's reassuring? About a 3.5, nope. 3.5, 3.3, nope. That's good. 2.8. 2.8 is a little bit firm. 0.3, I imagine. Yep. You can sort of wiggle them around a bit. Often they go in a bit easier. So I'd say that's a point. Where did 0.33 go? Yep. That's tight. So we'll call that 0.3. I'm not actually sure which piston this is off. I sent my pistons out to have the valve release deepened, and I had the rings on them, and I didn't expect that the piston guys would take the rings off, but they did. So I'm not sure which set of rings is from which cylinder now. So this is the horizontal. I'll try this ring set in this cylinder, then I'll try the other ring set in the other cylinder, and if they're both good at that, we'll let them run there like that. So that, I think, is the top ring. I'll call it the top ring for now anyway. The second ring. Looks like it might be a little bit bigger. 3.5, yep. 4, yep, this one's definitely bigger. So at 0.6, nope. That's a good start. It's a 0.5. 0.55, yep. Might be a 0.58 or so. Yep, 0.58 goes in. And the 0.6. Yep. So we'll call that 1.58, which is a bit on the big side, but I'm not going to replace the rings, so it is what it is. The ring sets are usually 200, 300, 400 sets of rings, so I'm not going to get involved in that. Now the oil rings, this is a 3-piece oil ring with the central expander style. So these are very flimsy and easy to push around when you're doing this, but the spec for these is 0.3 to 0.6. Looks like it's definitely under 0.3. I'm not sure how big a deal this actually is. It's about, they move around so easily, these ones, that they're really hard to keep central without moving anything. Well, that's an easy 0.23. I think even that's moved. They are very flimsy and they're not very tight in the bore, which makes it hard to really. $25. We can get the 28 in. I think they're probably a 0.28. This one is. Yep. So I'll call that a 0.28. Which I guess is a little on the tight side. I don't know. The main thing you're checking here is that the ring gap's too small. If the rings hit, the ends butt up, then they start pushing out when they get hot and scratching the bore and making a mess. Given this engine had done 30,000 Ks, I'm pretty convinced there's no problem with it. But it's just interesting to know sometimes what you're dealing with. Certainly on a top ring, if a top ring butts up, the hit like that, and the ring starts pushing out, that's when you get lots of cylinder damage and that sort of thing. Go 0.3 on this one. Nope. That was our friend 0.28. Probably not. 2.5. It's moved. Yep, it's 0.25. Ish. These can be quite annoying, but at least they're not fragile like the cast iron oil rings are. They break so easily. So we've got that 0.25. But once again, I'm not going to do anything about it, even if the spec does say 0.3 to 0.6, because they were in this engine for a long time. I might check the other set. So this is the other set in the horizontal cylinder. And we'll see if there's any real difference to be had. Okay, that's what I think is the top ring with the chamfer on the back side. One set of these looks decidedly older than the other set. It's been interesting. Okay, 0.25. Yep. 0.3. 0.35. It's 0.38. 0.4. Not really what I wanted to see. 4.3. That's it, 0.43. Try the second ring. It's a decent old gap by the look of it. The other one was 0.6, so we'll go, it's 0.58, 0.55, yep, call that 0.55. Oil ring number 1. Might not be as tight as the other ones were. It's at 0.3. Yep, it's an easy 0.3. It's 0.4. 0.45. Probably 0.48. Oops, where'd our gap go? There it is. 0.5. Bit of a tight 5. Tight 5, tight 4, 5. 4.3. It's definitely a 4.3. Where'd the 4.5 go? Call that 0.45. So at least they're about the same. That's always a good start. Now get the other cylinder and see if the set with the big gap is any better in the other cylinder. Okay, so back to, this was the top ring with the big gap. Is it better in this one maybe? It was 0.43. It's 0.3. It's definitely 0.3. It's 0.38. 0.38. 0.4. 0.43. No. So in this cylinder it's 0.4, which is a little bit better, I guess, marginally. Second ring. Looks like a pretty decent gap. 0.55 in the other cylinder. 0.5. 0.53. Yep. Not 0.55. No. So I call it 0.53. So it's about 0.03 better on both rings. So not much to be had, but I'll put that set in the vertical cylinder.